Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I'm so happy to be here and thankful that you're here too. Thank you for your practice, your study, your continual support. Yeah, all that stuff. Like, subscribe. Please subscribe. It helps us grow the channel. Just another beautiful day. It's amazing. All right. We are reading the Lankavatara. And I read this yesterday, and my mind is in 1,000 places right now. But as you've already seen, Mahamati is the personage of doubts and questions. By now we know Mahamati isn't an individual. Mahamati is a label that's being put on a series of questions that are they're somewhat annoying because this spokesperson Mahamati is and to be fair, he's asked different questions about different aspects of the teachings thus far. The Lankavatara is an early Mahayana text, and much of what's in this text, this sermon, this sutra, this teaching, is carries with it a lot of the earlier teachings from prior to Mahayana, from Hinayana or Agama or earlier texts. And to be clear, as I've said many times, Shakyamuni has taught the same thing over and over and over again for his 50-some years of teaching. That the differences in his teachings over time are the people he's addressing, the capacities they have. So he's introducing concepts at an intimate, rudimentary level that they understand, and over time he expands on those to lead to deeper insights and understanding, right? That's the nature of the way we learn things, or teach ourselves things, right? So in the Lankavatara, although it's considered a Mahayana sutra teaching, it still brings along with it some of the old baggage. And that old baggage, that earlier stuff, shows up in the questions proposed by Mahamati. What can tend to be a bit annoying is that once, especially as Lotus Sutra practitioners who understand this at a much more profound level, when we hear Shakyamuni responding and answering these questions, it's cool. We hear things that give us pause to reconsider what we know and give us perhaps deeper insights. Cool. That's why we study. But we also hear a bit of a redundancy. Not like that's new to the teachings of Buddhism, but specifically with this Mahamati character, we hear him rephrasing basically the same question, albeit with different terms he just picked up or whatever from the earlier explanations of Shakyamuni. And it can get a little bit annoying, but it's almost comical, right? So let's just get right into it with that as preface. And after everything we learned in the last video, at that moment, again, Mahamati, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, in other words, all of these well-educated bodhisattvas, right? It's not just Mahamati, said this: "Tell me, emancipated one, about the teaching known as the essence of discrimination as regards words, whereby, emancipated one, I and other Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, comprehending and becoming well acquainted," right, learning and realization, "with the essence of discrimination as regards words, will be thoroughly informed of the signification of two things, expression and expressed, and thereby immediately attain supreme enlightenment. Will explain the signification of these two things, expression and expressed, for the purification of all beings." Oh, there's a freaking mouthful, yeah? So comprehending and being well acquainted, isn't that the same thing? With the essence of discrimination, the source, the method of discrimination, as regards words. Well, words are discrimination. Will be thoroughly informed of the signification of two things. Those two things being expression and expressed. This is a strange sort of dissection. He's hunting for enlightenment in words, and paradoxically, not a meaning so much as what the word is and its mechanism when expressed, when verbalized. This is it's very difficult to see how this is somehow significant at this moment. So he says, I want to know this, so we'll thoroughly be informed of the signification of two things, the expression and the expressed, and thereby immediately attain supreme enlightenment. If I just knew how these words came together and how language works, then we'd be enlightened. Now it becomes exceedingly obvious why, for so many sutras, all the way until the final teachings of the Lotus Sutra, the people of learning and realization, the Ichantika, the Hinayana, the disdain for these practitioners, though they practice Buddhism, have cut themselves off from Buddhahood with this insane attachment to language. I mean, there it is. If we only understood language, we'd purify all beings. Talk about missing the target. So Shakyamuni replies, Mahamati, listen well and reflect well, for I will tell you about it. Well done, says Mahamati, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and listened to Shakyamuni. Let's see if he listens. Shakyamuni says to him, there are, Mahamati, 4 kinds of word discrimination. So he's going to go answer the question word for word. Let's see where he goes with it. These 4 kinds of word discriminations. The first one, denoting individual marks. That's blue, that's big, that's small, that's thin, that's so on. That's a discrimination with words, right? Words assigning characteristics, identifying things through these discriminations, these words, right? 2, dream words. Dream words. I'm interested to see how he defines dream words. 3, words growing out of the attachment to erroneous speculations and discriminations. Every discrimination, like blue, thin, tall, whatever, brings with it a relationship, an identification of self. And there are words, blue, that's a cool color. Red, that's a hot color. See the discriminations on discriminations that basically define our relationship with identification, right? We'll see what he says, but... And 4, words growing out of the discrimination that knows no beginning. Now, Mahamadi, the words denoting individual marks, they rise from discriminating forms and characteristic signs as real in themselves and becoming attached to them. Like blue. Blue is blue, always been blue. Blue, thingness, suchness. Calling something blue, not just identifying the color, but identifying a quality, a characteristic, as though blue is a very real thing that independently exists and now assigned to this. You see how Buddhism deconstructs? Where'd that blue come? Well, blue is your eye consciousness. It's discerning light that's bouncing off of something that's absorbing all the rest of the light spectrum, but you're assigning blue, which is really happening in your brain, in your eye, to that, which it isn't. It's not blue. It's everything but blue. See, that you study color theory and you start to learn that, and basically you're getting a little injection of Buddhist understanding. See, Buddhism looks at the real, not the apparent real. Let's move on. The dream words, oh, I'm loving this, Mahamadi, rise from the unreal surroundings which reveal themselves before the mind when it recollects its previous experience. Oh, that blue reminds me of the sky. That blue reminds me of that pool at my aunt's place that I ate tuna sandwiches in and threw up when whatever. All of that. They're words about your imagination, your associations, your definitions, your identification of things. They go through this miasm of all these connections, that relationship that you're establishing. You see? The words growing out of the discriminations that has been functioning since beginningless time, Mahamadi, rise from the habit energy whose seeds have been growing out of the clinging to erroneous speculations and false imaginations since beginningless time. This is part of the process of samsara. Words are samsaric language creation by our samsaric human minds to communicate. Communicate what? Experience, identity. What's the first thing we do when we meet somebody else? I'm so-and-so. What's your name? We have to identify We can't move forward unless it's built in to our biology, our sociology, our socialness. I say, Mahamadi, these are the 4 features of word discrimination, which is the answer to your question. You're not going to achieve enlightenment from it. You're asking a kind of a stupid question. So I'm going to answer it very directly with what it is without resorting to this magical thinking that was also in the question. I want to know how words work so I can attain enlightenment. I'll answer the word part. Now we're in section 33. At that time, Mahamadi, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, requested of the emancipated one to speak on this subject. He's not satisfied. Please tell me again about the conditions whereby the word discrimination manifests itself. Where, whence, how, and by whom do words indicating discrimination take place among the people? Do you want to backslap this guy? So Shakyamuni answers, Mahamadi, the word discrimination goes on taking place by the coordination of the head, chest, nose, throat, palate, lips, tongue, and teeth. You're asking me, what is the origin of how are these words made? It's a very straightforward, there's nothing mystical here, Mahamati. This isn't magical. We use language to communicate with one another. Well, where do the words come from? The mouth, the throat, the lungs, right? This is comical. So Mahamati, not daunted, says, are words to be considered different or not different from discrimination? Oh my goodness. The emancipated one says, Mahamadi, they are neither different nor non-different. Why? Because words rise, Mahamadi, with discrimination as their cause. The reason a word exists is because you're discriminating. And you're wanting to communicate that discriminating. They cannot have it for a cause. The words don't create the discrimination. The words are a result of discrimination. Then if they're not different, words cannot express the sense which they do. Therefore, words and discriminations are neither different nor not different. Then Mahamadi says, again, are words themselves the highest reality? Or is what is expressed in words the highest reality? Oh, man. What the hell? So the emancipated one replies, Mahamadi, words are not the highest reality. Nor is what is expressed in words the highest reality. Why? Because the highest reality is an exalted state of bliss, and as it cannot be entered into by mere statements regarding it, words are not the highest reality. Mahamadi, the highest reality is to be attained by the inner realization of noble wisdom. It's in the mind, not in the words. It is not a state of word discrimination. Therefore, discrimination does not express the highest reality. And then, Mahamati, words are subject to birth and destruction. They are unsteady, mutually conditioning, and are produced by the law of causation. And again, Mahamati, what is mutually conditioning and produced by the law of causation cannot express the highest reality, because the indications pointing to the distinctions between self and not self are non-existent. Mahamati, words are these indications and do not express the highest reality. I don't know about you, but I sense Shakyamuni is getting a little impatient here. But he's also very compassionate. All right, let's go down this road. Let's see if I can let you wander your way into an insight. Yeah, a damn good teacher. Further, Mahamati, word discrimination cannot express the highest reality, for external objects with their multitudinous individual marks and non-existence are non-existent and only appear before us as something revealed out of mind itself. All of this is based on your samsaric perceptions, your experiences in the physical realm. Therefore, Mahamati, you must try to keep yourself away from the various forms of word discrimination. Thus it is said, in all things there is no self-nature. Words, too, are devoid of reality. As the ignorant understand not what is meant by emptiness, yes, by emptiness they wander about, clinging to everything. In all things there is no self-nature. They are mere words of people. That which is discriminated has no reality. Even nirvana is like a dream. Nothing is seen to be in transmigration, nor does anything ever enter into nirvana. Right? The Buddha land is this land. It's a perceptive shift. It's an experience emancipated from ownership. Right? As a king or a wealthy householder, giving his children various clay-made animals pleases them and makes them play with the toys, but later gives them real ones, quote unquote. So I, making use of various forms and images of things, instruct my sons, but the limit of reality can only be realized within one's self. I can offer you all this knowledge, as you hear me often repeat. I can share as much as I've experienced about the teachings of Buddhism with you, but I can't enlighten you. I can't flip a switch, say a magic word, somehow inculcate Buddha-ness in you. You have to take that mantle. You have to study all of these different insights and so forth, expedient means, and come to your own conclusion that, oh, this is Buddha-ness. You're the only one who can unlock your mind's gohonzon, your doorway, your perceptive shift to experience the magnificence of life in every single moment without the obstructions of attachments. Part 35. At that time, what do you think? Mahamati, the Bodhisattva, again said this to the emancipated one. Please tell me, blessed emancipated one, about the attainment of self-realization by noble wisdom, which does not belong to the path and the usage of the philosophers. We've already gone over that, right? Which is devoid of all such predicates as being and non-being, oneness and otherness, bothness and not bothness, existence and non-existence, eternity and non-eternity, which has nothing to do with the false imagination, nor with individuality and generality, which manifests itself as the truth of the highest reality, which, going up continuously by degrees the stages of purification, enters upon the stage of Tathagatahood, which, because of the original vows, unattended by any striving, will perform its work in infinite worlds like a gem reflecting a variety of colors. And boy, he loves his words. And which is manifested when one perceives how signs of individuation arise in all things as one realizes the course and realm of what is seen of mind itself, and thereby I and the other bodhisattvas, mahasattvas, who are stubborn like me, are enabled to survey things from the point of view which is not hampered by marks of individuality and generality, nor by anything of the false imagination, and may quickly attain supreme enlightenment and enable all beings to achieve the perfection of all their virtues. Holy my. Do you see this guy tripping all over himself? I know the words real good. Listen to me. I'll repeat them all back to you. He's just not getting it. This is so frustrating. So tell me, give me more words. That's what he's saying. Don't explain it to me. Give me a bunch more words so that I can understand all these bunches of words and they can all lead me to enlightenment. Oh my God, this guy is so frustrating. But, you know, Shakyamuni, cool cucumber that he is. Did you hear all those words? Well done, Mahamati. Again, well done indeed, Mahamati. You've done a superlative job of recalling every single word and remaining in doubt and question. You haven't listened to a damn word, but you can repeat every one of them. Well, I shouldn't put myself in Shakyamuni's brain, should I? But it's quite obvious. Let's go on. He says, okay, great job. Because of your compassion for the world, for the benefit of many people, for the happiness of many people, for the welfare, benefit, happiness of many people, both of the celestial beings and humankind, Mahamati, you present yourself before me and make this request. Therefore, Mahamati, listen well and truly and reflect, for I will tell you. Assuredly, said Mahamati, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and gave an ear to the emancipated one. The emancipated one said this to him. Mahamati, since the ignorant and the simple-minded, not knowing that the world is what is seen of the mind itself, cling to the multitudinousness of external objects, clinging to the notions of being and non-being, oneness and otherness. He's giving Mahamati his own medicine. He's repeating all the words. Bothness and not bothness, existence and non-existence, eternity and non-eternity, as being characterized by self-nature which rises from the discrimination based on habit energy, they are addicted to false imagination. Well, that's a true statement, right? That's what we're practicing here, is getting unaddicted to our relationships and identification with everything. We're not annihilating it. We're not erasing it in Photoshop. We're altering our relationship with everything, with our own selves. Mahamadi, it is like a mirage in which the springs are seen as if they're real. They are imagined so by the animals who, thirsty from the heat of the season, would run after them, because that's what they want to see. Mind. Not knowing that the springs are their own mental hallucinations, the animals do not realize that there's no such springs. In the same way, Mahamadi, the ignorant and simple-minded, with their minds impressed by various erroneous speculations and discriminations, words, since beginningless time, with their minds burning with the fire of greed, anger, and folly, delighted in a world of multitudinous forms, with their thoughts saturated with the ideas of birth, destruction, and subsistence, not understanding well what is meant by existence and non-existence. We just called you out. By inner and outer, the ignorant and simple-minded fall into the way of grasping at oneness and otherness, being and not being. Mahamadi, it is like the city of the Gandharvas, which the unwitted take for a real city, though it is not so, in fact. This city appears in essence owing to their attachment to the memory of a city preserved in seed from beginningless time. This city is thus neither existent nor non-existent. In the same way, Mahamadi, clinging to the memory of erroneous speculations and doctrines since beginningless time, they hold fast to ideas such as oneness and otherness, being and non-being, and their thoughts are not at all clear about what is seen of mind only. They don't really get what that means. Mahamadi, it is like a man who, dreaming in his sleep of a country variously filled with women, men, elephants, horses, pedestrians, cars? I think they had cars 3,000 years ago. All right, Suzuki, where are you going? Makes cause for concern, don't you think? Cars? Pedestrians, villages, towns, hamlets, cows, buffaloes, mansions, woods, mountains, rivers, and lakes, enters into its deep apartments and is awakened. While awakened thus, he recollects the city and its inner apartments. What do you think, Mahamadi? Is this person to be regarded as wise, who is recollecting the various unrealities he has seen in his dream? Mahamadi says, well, indeed he is not. So the emancipated one continues. In the same way, the ignorant and simple-minded who are bitten by erroneous views and are inclined toward the philosophers do not recognize that things seen of the mind itself are like a dream. These are constructions of your imagination and are held fast by the notions of oneness and otherness. It must be so because that is that and that is not me and I am not that, but that is my relationship with that, therefore that has to be, otherwise I cannot be. Right? That's the philosopher of being and non-being. Mahamadi, it is like a painter's canvas on which there is no depression nor elevation as imagined by the ignorant. Is this in the same way? He's talking about the illusion of space that painters create, right? And he's saying if you walk up to the painting, you can easily see that it's just a flat surface. In the same way, Mahamadi, there may be in the future some people brought up in the habit, energy, mentality, and imagination based on the philosophers' erroneous views, clinging to the ideas of oneness and otherness, bothness and not bothness. They may bring themselves and others to ruin. They may declare those people nihilist who hold the doctrine of no birth apart from the alternatives of being and non-being. They argue against cause and effect. They are followers of the wicked views whereby they uproot meritorious causes of unstained purity. They are to be kept far away by those whose desires are for things excellent. They are those whose thoughts are entangled in the errors of self, other, and both, in the errors of imagining being and non-being, assertion and refutation, and hell will be their final refuge. Hell being an experience of suffering. This world, as it is, with all your attachments, becomes your hell. You ever heard the expression, life sucks, then you die? There it is. Mahamati, it is like the dim-eyed ones who, seeing a hairnet, would exclaim to one another, saying, it is wonderful, look, oh, honorable sirs. And the said hairnet has never been brought into existence. It is, in fact, neither an entity nor a non-entity, because it is seen and not seen. In the same manner, Mahamati, those whose minds are addicted to discrimination of the erroneous views as cherished by the philosophers, and who are also given up to the realistic ideas of being and non-being, oneness and otherness, bothness and non-bothness, will contradict the good Dharma, ending in the destruction of themselves and others. Mahamati, it is like a firebrand. Now, what does he mean by the destruction of themselves and others? Did you ask that question and I didn't hear you? Sorry. Because again, the true quote-unquote self here is an emancipated experience of Buddha-ness, not a denial of our earthly samsaric life. We need this body. We need this human that we're in, right? That's when we reach bodhisattvahood, that we remain human with all of our interactions, albeit all influenced by Buddha-ness, by a true perception of and experience of life. With that coursing through samsara, we influence all around us. Influence in what? Buddha-ness. You should all be doing this. It's amazing. It's wonderful. There is no requisite in life for you to suffer. That is a byproduct of the very energies that amalgamated to put you here. And that's okay, because that's what provided for your sentient mind. But now, perceive it as it is, rather than being stuck in it and suffering. Mahamati, it is like the firebrand wheel, which is no real wheel, but which is imagined to be of such character by the ignorant, but not by the wise. In the same manner, Mahamati, those whose minds have fallen into the erroneous views of the philosophers will falsely imagine the rise of all beings, oneness and otherness, bothness and not bothness. The ego. I am this and you are not. You are that and I am not. That's the ego at work. Mahamati, it is like those water bubbles in a rainfall which have the appearance of crystal gems, and the ignorant taking them for real crystal gems run after them. Mahamati, there are no more than water bubbles. They are not gems, nor are they not gems, because of their being so comprehended by one party and being not so comprehended by another. In the same manner, Mahamati, those whose minds are impressed by the habit energy of the philosopher's views and discriminations will regard things born as non-existent and those destroyed by causation as extinction. And again, he's talking around this concept of moment-to-moment manifestation, rather than the culling of permanence and qualities and characteristics that assign identity to things. But I'm not sure Mahamati still, he's torched everything Mahamati brought up, but I don't know, let's see, maybe he gets it. But he's not done. Further, Mahamati, by setting up the 3 forms of measure and the 5 members of a syllogism, the philosophers make the discrimination that there is a reality existing by itself, which is attained by the realization of noble wisdom and devoid of the 2 svabhavas. This discrimination, however, is not right. The Buddhist doctrine is this. Mahamati, when a psychological revolution or revulsion takes place in the mendicant, the meditator, the practitioner, by the transcendence of the Sita, Manas, and Vijnana, they cast off the dualistic discrimination of grasped and grasping in what is seen of mind itself, and entering the Tathagata Garbha, attain the realization of noble wisdom. And in this, there is no thought of existence and non-existence. There's simply the realization of the process. Again, Mahamati, if there is the grasping of existence and non-existence in the realm attained by the yogins or the practitioners, there will be in them the grasping of an ego, a nourisher, a supreme soul, or a person, like a Buddha. Wrong. Again, Mahamati, the teaching pointing to self-nature, individuality, and generality of things is that of the transformation Buddha and not that of the Dharmata Buddha. What's the transformation Buddha he's talking about? It's the accommodative body. It is the physical instantiation of energies whereby an emergent mind, a facility, a faculty of that body of the universe, localized in a human form or in whatever form that has a sentient mind, to be accurate. That's the discriminating body, but it allows for a mind that can transcend that activity to the Dharma Buddha, which is unattached, not affected by time, always abiding and realizing the process itself, not the process, the experience of the process. Again, Mahamati, such teaching is meant for the ignorant being in conformity with their mentality, their way of thinking and viewing things. Any establishment that favors the way of self-nature fails to reveal the truth of self-realization to be attained by noble wisdom and the blissful abode of the samadhi. So here we get a much more delineated definition of noble wisdom. In this definition, noble wisdom or prajna isn't achieved by you and I as human beings. It is a wisdom born of the experience of Buddha-ness. And this is something we utilize in our Lotus Sutra practice, right? That by committing ourselves completely, namu, to our attainment, our relation, our awakening to Buddha-ness, Myoho Renge Kyo, we imbue this life with the noble wisdom. And it affects and influences every aspect of our samsaric life. This is how we alter and influence karma. We do it through awakening ultimate truth. Whether you understand it or can put words around it or not, now you're back in samsara. It's not a question of being able to express it. It's a question of being able to experience it. And this is where a lot of us stumble when it comes to our bodhisattva work of teaching others, right? The only way that I can help you to realize Buddhahood is to exhort you to chant with a proper setting, the proper tools, and then study about it for inspiration to keep you going, because it's a process, it's something that we constantly have to be doing. Or as Nichiren would say, to live in Myoho Renge Kyo every moment of the day. How do we do that? I cannot shoehorn Buddhahood into your mind. Only you can awaken to it. What I can do is share my experiences and my insights with you to hopefully trigger insights in your own life, which will only appear to you in your way and your momentum of energy, karma, that will allow you to open your door to Buddha-ness. In that we can all share. So if all I want to do is for you to reach enlightenment, then all I can do is sit with you and chant. Let's chant together. Now we're doing it. How to keep doing it, that is the effort, the conundrum, the beauty of practice. And beyond practice, which is study, practice, and conviction. Conviction comes from study and practice, right? Practice comes from influence. The influence that we have in our lives is conditioned by prajna, by noble wisdom, by the wisdom inculcated in our moment-to-moment existence by Buddha-ness. And by maintaining that effort day to day, wherever we go, getting other people to do, when they ask us questions, come with me, chant. That's the starting point. We are Bodhi. We are Bodhisattva. Because we know that that's the way to the Dharma, the Buddha Dharma. We can't sit down and explain it over coffee. It's not an Amway presentation. Right? It's a thing of doing. It's a thing of experiencing. I can guide you. I can share with you. That's the Sangha. But the goal is the same. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice. I laud your efforts. I'm grateful, but I'm humbled by your experience here, your support, your subscriptions, right? And if you can do more, all I can do is offer you more resources, right? Because if you donate $1, $10 monthly, one time, whatever it is, to this Sangha, it's not about me. It's about, to the limit of my abilities, what I can provide for all of us. That's the only reason I spend at least an hour a day just making these videos. And then there's hours of post-production and posting and study. I'm still studying. And I rely on your questions, emailed to me, or comments and videos about aspects of Buddhism or other sutras or whatever that you're curious about. And I'll tell you, a lot of times I answer those questions with links to videos that are already on this channel. We're approaching 900, I think, now. There's a lot of material on this channel. And then on the website, threefoldlotus.com, there also are books on lulu.com/spotlight/swoon. Life is so funny. Just thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of your health, too. We need you around. We need you helping us all, yeah? We're all in this. Cliches abound. Bye for now.